This all in reaction to threats of trouble after the school board fired bilingual counselor Richard Lara. Several Moorhead police officers, sheriff's deputies, and private security officers patrolled the school today, and police were posted on every floor. Jody Bielman has our story.
There's no one in class today. Everyone's leaving. They're all scared something's going to happen. And I don't know. It's kind of freaky. I was thinking about leaving.
Some students say they heard rumors of bomb threats and even that some kids were coming to school with guns. That led to students leaving the school, and after lunch, parents came in droves to pick up their kids.
Everybody's getting upset because they wouldn't hire the teacher or the counselor back, so everybody figures if they're not going to do what we want, we're going to threaten them, and it's just scaring everybody.
But minority students say this whole thing is overblown, and that all the rumors flying around about guns and bombs are just that, rumors, and they just want bilingual counselor Richard Lara back.
We're out here protesting, but we're nothing violent. We're just trying to do everything the way, in a good way, positive way. No matter what it comes out, we're always going to be happy that we came out here and that we at least went for something that was right.
Many parents are wondering how this dispute got this far.
It used to be that the teachers and the faculty had more to say about what was going on than the kids did, but now it's just the opposite. I think the administration is afraid of the kids.
It's not a matter of responding to a few. In fact, it's just the opposite. Moorhead Schools is going to continue to be a safe, secure school. Moorhead Schools is not going to be intimidated.
Anderson says the board's decision to let Lara go is final, and he will not be offered his job back. He says they're looking for a licensed counselor to replace him since Lara was not licensed, and he hopes this crisis will die down.
And we're be anxious to get back and have young people being helped in Moorhead, no matter what their race, creed, or color.
And Anderson says they will continue to take all precautions come Monday when the school opens its doors again. With photographer Dave Erickson, Jody Bielman, News 4.
Moorhead police say things were quiet at the high school today and there were no arrests.
Several new security measures in light of this week's protests and racial tension at the high school. Beginning Monday morning, the district says individuals loitering outside the building will be subject to school district discipline and consequences of violating city ordinances. The city will restrict parking in front of the high school on 4th Avenue South. Entering the building will be limited to the main south entrance, the northwest auditorium entrance, and the sports center entrance. Only students with school authorization will be allowed to re-enter once they leave the building, and all visitors must register at the high school office. Now, earlier this week, a group of Hispanic students held a protest during school hours after they learned Counselor Richard Lara had been fired. Rumors of possible violence at the high school Friday caused many parents to pull their children from school. As you know, the duck hunting season began today.
And the Moorhead Police Department started enforcing ordinances and school policies that will directly affect those who have been protesting. Kevin Wollivan reports.
The Moorhead School District today started strictly enforcing policies already in place and came up with new rules following the chaos surrounding last week's protests. From now on, more entrances to the school will be locked during the day. Parking and loitering laws will be enforced, and once a student leaves the building, they will need a pass to get in. It's all an effort to get kids back in the classroom. Those who choose to leave the school and protest will face the consequences. Tonight, the PTA Advisory Council will meet to talk about what's been happening at its school the last week, and the meeting will likely focus on the future. What can be done to promote unity rather than strife?
There will be strife in life. You know, this isn't a perfect world, and hopefully we can learn from the experiences. Yes, let's come together and talk about what's going on, what is diminishing the humanity of certain people, and what can we do to help them learn from it and grow from it.
The school district realizes it cannot expect a perfect world when it has some students so upset about a decision. Its only hope now is that resolve will come from dialogue and not violence. Kevin Wollivan, WDAY News Center 6.
Faculty to keep classes running smoothly, and he says efforts are being made to counsel students through these tense times.
Good evening. Hundreds of parents worried about possible violence at Moorhead High School turned out tonight for a PTA meeting.
Most were concerned with the tension last week over the firing of bilingual counselor Richard Lara. Well, Liza Cordero is at the meeting and is in our newsroom.
Many parents at tonight's meeting wanted to find out what really went on at the school. They were concerned about rumors of violence that spread through the school on Friday, and they wanted to know what school administrators were planning on doing.
And one of the things that I question is whether or not this safety issue is going to be a long-term thing.
Moorhead Principal Doug Price says police won't be stationed at the high school on a long-term basis, but they will stay in place for now. He also said the most important thing now is for children to stay in class. Most parents at the meeting tonight were looking for information and solutions.
I think they're thinking about the safety of their children. I think parents are thinking about how disputes can be settled peacefully rather than with threats of violence or disruption of the school.
Basically what they were telling us tonight, that there was a tremendous amount of hysteria going through the community in terms of something that wasn't that great.
Counseling groups will also be formed at the high school for any students who want to talk about the unrest or any other problems they may be having.
Liza, over the weekend, the school took some additional steps. They are going to restrict entry into the school and also make sure that some students who leave the campus have passes. With that in mind, how did things go at school today?
Things were back to normal. The principal says that students were in class and there wasn't any protesting going on.
Thank you, Liza. In other news, North Dakota's U.S. Attorney
handling recent student protests and unrest. The Parent-Teacher Advisory Council gave Principal Doug Price a chance to explain to parents what's being done to ensure student safety. He said parking is no longer allowed in front of the school and that there's full-time security officers patrolling the rear parking lot. In addition, once the school day gets underway, 5 of the 8 entrances are locked in order to control who enters the building. And on Thursday, social workers and school counselors will visit each classroom and invite any student to join in counseling groups, whether they're upset with the firing of Counselor Richard Laura or if they're worried about threats of violence.
This didn't bother them. They put it in perspective. They're connected at home. They've had a forum. They have a way to deal with it. For other kids, they don't. And we need to, and we are developing those groups now.
While many parents express concern about safety and what's done to those who violate the rules, most express satisfaction with the steps the school has taken.
Major changes have been made at the
Several members of the group hope to establish a committee to address student needs throughout the school year. And the parents got a chance to meet the new bilingual counselor, Ruben Garcia, and they helped him develop some new goals.
For starters, we are having meetings like this every month, with the school board and Mr. Anderson, where we can keep on communicating, talking to each other. The other thing is that we're there for the next counselor that's going to be hired to take Mr. Laura's place, and we like him and we got to talk to him a little bit. And
the district may also employ more licensed counselors and tutors.
We want all of these kids back in school. Their graduation and their success is important to the parents and to all of us. So whether it's through Moorhead State, Concordia, North Dakota State, through parent volunteers, we want to be sure that we provide tutoring.
Anderson says today's meeting was a way to give the community a sense of participation in the district's efforts. He says it's a formula for success. Steve Wimblum, News 4, Moorhead.
America's teachers are making more money, but not a
new student resource assistant who will work with senior high students. Garcia comes to Moorhead with 11 years of experience in law enforcement, most recently as a private investigator and corrections worker in Florida. He's also had training in family and adolescent behavior and cultural diversity. Garcia will start the job immediately. Lara's contract was not renewed after he was accused of a number of improprieties.
Bruce Anderson says Ruben M. Garcia will begin his duties at the senior high immediately. The hiring comes in the wake of student unrest after the Moorhead School Board refused to rehire Richard Laura as a bilingual counselor. Students left classes and demonstrated for Laura's return last week. Meanwhile, today Moorhead parents, counselors, and faculty met in the next step toward easing tensions and promoting unity in the community. Several members of the group are hoping to establish a committee to address student needs throughout the school year.
In other school news, there was a